was I saying? Hi, welcome to Yarncrafts by Allison. I'm Allison and I'm so glad you're here. I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas. As you can see, we are still decorated here. We'll probably be putting the Christmas tree away probably this weekend. But we had a lovely Christmas with the kids and we are pretty much back in the swing of things now. It's the Monday after, it's not Monday, today it's the Friday, a full week after New Year's. So a little over a week after New Year's, this was our first full week back to like regular everything. I went back to teaching dance this week. My daughter went back to her dance classes. So we are well and truly, it's just winter time now. The holidays are over. Today I have one finished object to talk about that I'm so excited about, and 1, 2, 3 whips. Today I have one finished object and 3 whips to talk about, so this might actually be a shorter one today. So let's get right into it. So the first thing I'll talk about is this sweater that I'm wearing. This is the Sandy Shores pullover. Might just be called Sandy Shore actually, by Drops Design. This is one of the first knit garments I ever made. It is really big. I'll stand up a little so you can see. It's very open and airy. I did this in a self-striping cotton yarn from Yarn Bee. And I think this is the second knit garment I ever made. It was way off gauge. I didn't make a gauge swatch for this. I was so new to it. I think this is the dimensions of like 2 or 3 sizes larger than the stitch count would have suggested. But it's really nice. It's 100% cotton. I love the raglan. There's yarn overs to create eyelets. And it's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 stitches between the raglan increases. So I do wear this actually quite a lot when it's warmer. It's January 9th today, but it's 63 degrees here in Cincinnati. So I couldn't wear my finished object today because it was far too warm. But this is the finished object. So I finished my Haru V-neck sweater. You know what? I'm gonna put this on. Hold that thought. Okay. It was too warm to actually wear it today. I tried and I was immediately so hot. So I had to take it off and put on the other one. But it is done. Ooh, excuse my creaky chair. It's finished and I think this is maybe the best knit garment I've ever made in terms of achieving my desired fit, and just like I'm really proud of how even my tension is throughout the entire sweater. I don't think there's a single rode out area. I think, you know, my gauge was really consistent between knitting flat and knitting in the round and going to the smaller circumference for the sleeves. Best sewn bind offs I've ever done. I'm just really proud of this one. Now, that's not to say there weren't weird things that happened. So the first thing I'll talk about is the neckline. So I don't know how well you can see it, but this really should have been about this much wider, this neckline. But pre-blocking, when I was trying this on, I was concerned when I crossed it over, if I made it wider, I was concerned that it would be kind of climbing up the back of my neck. And it actually was at this width before I blocked it. It was kind of sitting up here. It was kind of creeping up. Just didn't want that look. So I went with it narrower and I just didn't, you know, I just didn't overlap it all the way to here. And it was kind of pulling funny at these corners. So I was really kind of concerned pre-blocking that this would look really not right. But I think it turned out really well. It really isn't. There isn't any weird rippling or anything. and the neckline is sitting exactly how I wanted it to sit. It just looks like a normal neckline. And so the reason I wasn't sure if this would work out is I actually did modify my increases for the neckline. So this is a drop shoulder, and on the original pattern, I think you're increasing for your front panels every 4th row, and I modified it to increase to every 3rd row. This is the 2nd time I've knit this pattern, and the first one I made, this line here sits probably about here. And I always wear t-shirts under my sweaters, so it doesn't, you know, it's not like showing more skin than I'd prefer or anything, but a lot of a t-shirt will poke out through that one. So I have to be a little more choosy with what I wear under it. I can't just wear any color because it's also teal, the other version. So there's t-shirts that I like can't wear under it. And I just wanted the fit of it to be just raised a little bit. So I was increasing every 3rd row. And then once I did the right number of increases and I joined, I just did more rows to bring that whole front panel to where it would have been had I been increasing every 4th row. And then I joined in the round. So it has the same number of rows in the front. I just adjusted that, and I think, honestly, I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. I think it's all sitting really, really great. So the second roadblock that I ran into with this was on the sleeves. They are wider than I intended because, so this pattern has 4 sizes, and the first 3 sizes, you're decreasing for the sleeves every 4th row. No, every 6th row, you're decreasing. On the 4th size, which is the one I made, you're supposed to decrease every 4th row, and I just misread it. When I looked at the decrease rate, I saw 6, 6, 6 and went, oh, they're all decreasing 6. And just missed the fact somehow that I should have been decreasing every 4th row. So basically I got halfway through the decreases, and I was like, this sleeve is looking really long. Like, I should look at it. And pre-blocking, you know, I hadn't done the cuff yet. It was probably sitting here, but all of this was curling. I knew everything would relax. I didn't even have a cuff on it yet. And I looked at it and I thought, I didn't want this to be a real long sleeve. I wanted it to be, I mean, really exactly where it's sitting, kind of a bracelet length sleeve. And I just looked at it and thought, I can't decrease anymore, or these sleeves are gonna be past my fingertips. So I went ahead and, so I did 10 out of 20 suggested decreases. And then I put a cuff on it and just hoped that it wouldn't be like really wide. And honestly, they turned out great. I really, really love the fit of them. They aren't so long that they're getting in my way, but they are fully covering my arms, so it still feels like a cozy sweatshirt. That's kind of the vibe I was going for. And despite my mistake, it turned out really well, and I really, really love how they fit, actually. I really don't mind a looser sleeve as long as it's not excessively long to get in my way. So that turned out fine. The third issue that I ran into, I didn't even discover until after I had blocked it and it was laying out. I blocked it at like 10 p.m. The next morning I went to look at it and I noticed, I'll stand up and we'll see if you can even see. In this lighting, it's actually hard to tell. Right about here, in person, there is a really noticeable line where I changed skeins and the color just changes drastically. And actually, it's even harder to tell with the sleeves, but the sleeves are actually different colors. There's a line of demarcation around the elbow on one of them where I changed a skein. And I knew I had all different dye lots in this yarn. I knew this was a risk I was taking when I scoot in. I knew this was a risk I was taking when I used this yarn to make a sweater. I just kind of decided I was fine taking that risk, and it is almost a color blocked sweater. On camera, I think it's really subtle. You probably can't even tell. In person, it's a little more noticeable, but frankly, I don't care because I love the fit and the feel of this sweater so much. So despite a few little foibles in there, I think this is one of the best made, if not the best made garments I've ever made. Picking up the stitches for the sleeves did give me trouble at first. The first sleeve, I had to pick up the stitches probably 4 or 5 times. I just could not, at the pickup rate that the pattern suggested, I was like 15 stitches short. And I figured that would be a little too small. So I kept adjusting my pickup rate until I got it to work out. So the making of this was a whole saga with all its different ups and downs, but the end product I'm genuinely obsessed with. I've already worn this like 3 times. It took 2 full days to block, like a full 48 hours to dry. It's cold and humid here. So not a good combination for drying in any reasonable length of time. Plus my house is really drafty too, so that doesn't help either. But this is my Haru V-neck sweater. I'm so happy with it. That's my only finished object for this episode, but I do have a few whips to share. I did, after the last time I spoke to you, I did make some progress on my pearl sweater, so we'll talk about that really quickly. So if you haven't been here before, this is the pearl sweater by Magdalena Parker. I am using Sprout DK from Fiber Seed. They're a dyer that is local to me. And this is the, I love it so much. This is my first all over cable knit garment that I've ever made. And I've done a few inches past the underarms. I think last time we spoke, I was only like half an inch past joining under the arms. So we've made some progress, and I do think this is gonna fit me. I think it'll be probably like a zero ease, like more fitted sweater, but I do think this is going to fit once I block and it will relax its way out. I mean, it's pretty cinched up right now. So I don't have a whole lot to say about this right now. I've talked about it a lot. I think, pardon if you can hear the rubber duck squeaking. I've talked about this whip a lot, so I don't have a whole lot to say, but I'm really still enjoying it, still just plodding along. That's what I was gonna say. This is definitely gonna be something that is finished late spring probably, and I'll be able to wear it next fall. I don't see any possibility of this being finished this season for me to wear it before it gets warm, unfortunately, but that just is what it is. This is a slower one for me. I can get pretty mindless. Once I kind of get into a groove, I can pretty much just go and not have to think about it too much. But it is alternating stockinette, reverse stockinette, seed stitch, and it just alternates all the way across. So there's a little more thinking involved than just, you know, stockinette in the round or something. But this is still like TV knitting. I can sit and watch TV while I work on this, but it's just kind of kicking around. So that is my pearl sweater. Next, I have 2 new cast-ons. So this is another pair of World's Easiest Mittens by Tin Can Knits. This is the 4th or 5th pair I've ever made. I recently made a pair each for my daughter and my son, and decided it was time for me to have a pair. So I'm doing it in this lovely foresty green color. This is Must Be Merino in the color Pesto. This is a discontinued yarn from Yarn Bee. I'm making the adult small size, and this, I mean, I've already separated for the thumb gusset, and I'm just working on the hand. I think these are gonna end up kind of snug, and I don't know if I want these to be snug or if I want them to be a little bit bigger so that I've been sitting on these for a couple of days, deciding if I want to unpick and start again with the adult medium size, which I have pretty small hands. There's no good way to give you scale, but I have pretty small hands. The measurements worked out for my hand, but I think for what I'm wanting as like layering mittens over top of gloves, I think maybe I'll frog these tonight, cast on the larger size, so they'll be a little more versatile for me. But I love this color. If you've seen my podcast before, you might recognize that I had cast on a shawl with this yarn. I frogged it. It's been sitting in my bag for weeks and weeks and weeks. I worked on it for a couple days and then never touched it again. And it's a beautiful shawl pattern. I still may, pick it up again. I don't remember what it was called. The Rosehip shawl by Nelly. Fiyal. I'm not sure. I may still knit that one day, just not with this yarn. I really wanted this color for my mittens. The last whip that I want to talk about is another new cast on, and it is the Stick Season by Clow. So I cast on, I cast this on last night. Yesterday afternoon I cast this on. So this is the top back. This is a drop shoulder sweater, and the top is in this textured pattern, and then the body is in stockinette. It's a DK weight pattern, and I am using Wool of the Andes by Knit Picks, which is technically a worsted weight yarn, but I'm using it anyway. I got gauged just fine. This is actually the second time I've cast this on because I was good. I did a good size gauge swatch. Let's see, this is the bottom. So I had started with the suggested needle size of 3.5, and I got like 23 or 24 with the 3.5s. So I moved up to a 3.75, and that got me just shy of 21 stitches per inch. And I did the math, and for the size I wanted, it would still be within like the amount of ease I'm going for. So this is my fabric that I've got for my stockinette, and I misread the gauge instructions. I did not catch that she was suggesting two different needle sizes for my texture versus my stockinette. So I got my stockinette gauge and I said, okay, these are the needles I'm using. I'm using 3.75. So I cast on, and I'm working the textured stitch, and I cast on, I was working the textured stitch. I was getting close to where I was gonna have to look at the next set of instructions. So I was doing my increases for the back, and I went back and looked at the pattern, and I happened to glance at the gauge instructions and realized that I had misread or misunderstood the instructions the first time. I realized she wasn't giving two suggestions for needle sizes, but that she was actually saying you'll need these two sizes, or one for the stockinette, one for the texture. So I immediately blocked what I had, the top of the sweater, blocked it, realized I was at, I think, 24 stitches per inch. So I frogged that, and that was an after blocking measurement of like 24 stitches. So I frogged that, and I did a new gauge swatch. I went up to a 4.0, a 4mm needle, and that got me, again, like the stockinette, a 21 stitch, just under a 21 stitch gauge. So since I got 21 stitch gauge with both of my stitch patterns, I said, okay, I'm good. So suggested needles are 3.25 and 3.5. I am using 3.75 for my stockinette and 4 millimeters for the textured pattern. So I don't have too much, but for frogging and casting back on, I'm pretty pleased with, I've caught up and actually gone a little further than what I had before. So this is what I've got. I'm once again getting pretty close to where I need to see what happens next. That is really all I have for you today. Really hope you enjoyed seeing what I've been working on the last couple of weeks. Let me know what you've been working on down in the comments. I'd love to hear. Thanks so much for being here. Bye. Guys, when I put my sweater back on, I put it on inside out and didn't even notice. Jeez.